Welcome to Family Health by Mini First Aid. Mini First Aid are the UK's leading family first aid provider, and we are delighted to bring our latest podcast series to you, giving you all the information that you need around family health subjects. Thanks for joining. Series 1 of Family Health by Mini First Aid podcast is sponsored by Savlon Scar Prevention Gel. Savlon Scar Prevention Gel helps soothe pain, promote faster healing, as well as reducing the risk of scarring when used on minor wounds, superficial burns and grazes. With 6 children in my house, scrapes and cuts are plentiful, so my first aid box saviour is Savlon Scar Prevention Gel. Hello, I'm Kate Ball and I'm the founder of Mini First Aid, and welcome to our podcast Family Health by Mini First Aid. It is brilliant to hear that you've been enjoying our new Family Health podcast series, where we will continue to bring you top family health advice from leading experts. I'm delighted to introduce our guest today, Joanna Jensen, founder of the award-winning baby and child personal care brand Childs Farm. Welcome to the show, Joanna.
Thank you for having me, Kate.
So, Joanna, I'm a big fan of Childs Farm. I'm up there with your sales figures for buying product for my 6 children. But tell everybody listening a little bit about yourself and what you do at Childs Farm.
So I founded Childs Farm, 13 years ago now. And it really was because, a bit like what you've done, Kate, it was for my own need. My youngest daughter was born with really bad atopic eczema. And I realised that all the products that were on the market were exactly the same ones that had been on the market when I was a child with eczema. So that was steroid cream, emollients, basically stuff that looked and smelt revolting and looked horribly medicinal. And I was so surprised that life hadn't moved on. And in a weird fit of pique, I just took it upon myself to come up with my own solution, because I didn't want to put steroids on my baby, on her delicate skin, and I didn't want to use emollients, and I didn't want to start this sort of stigma of poorly skin meant, you had to sort of be treated medicinally from the get-go. So it was very much from a need, my personal need, my solution for my daughter, and it led me down a path which not only worked for her, but worked for, I think, something like 4 million children in the UK.
That's incredible. And we've invited you to chat to us about sensitive skin, because families suffering with skin complaints like eczema can be so frustrated with wanting to find relief for suffering, because it can be awful. It can be really painful, can't it?
Well, it's painful, and also children they don't tend to have a filter about this sort of thing. So if they've got a friend who is in the playground who's got poorly skin, they'll say, I'm not going to hold his hand, he's got really grotty skin, or, oh, look, she's got whatever. It's so unfortunate. And I think, one can be overwhelmed with all those responsibilities that you have as a parent. Mm-hmm. And, the reason we created this brand was because we wanted people to be happy in their skin. And it is, something, because it's not just, again, it's poorly skin, itchy skin, it's lack of sleep potentially. And there are old wives' tales out there, bathing in oats, it does work. We use in our Oat Derma range, we do use oat, and we do use oat lipid, because it really does make a difference to sensitive skin. And actually the products that we use have been clinically proven to reduce irritation and redness. And that in itself works both on a comfort level, but also on this mental level. You don't feel that you're standing out for all the wrong reasons. But it's, sensitive skin is a bit like earache or a bit like toothache. It can just become more and more and more frustrating for the individual, but also for a parent, because you feel so helpless.
Absolutely. And I think there is so much to learn about skin, isn't there? Especially when it comes to skin irritations and skin complaints. When we think about eczema, what are the main symptoms of eczema then in the skin for children?
well, it's going to be red, raw and itchy. It's really fundamentally. And I mean, the rule of thumb is this: your skin cells, if they're nice, fit and healthy, they'll be locked together like this and nothing can get down the crack between each of them. But the moment that they start drifting apart, that's when, irritation can get into those cracks. So the way to prevent irritation and the way to deal with irritation is really cleanliness and moisturizing. And it is making sure in baby that their bottom is spotlessly clean. Now, you're not going to get that with soap and water, with just water and cotton wool bud,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of the word. Those things. You're not, and also it sticks to everything, and you end up getting it everywhere. But you do need a little bit of a soap of some description, something very mild, something that's designed for baby skin, sensitive skin, and that removes the dirt, because those skin cells, the dirt will stay in there, and that's what causes the problem. So keep skin clean. It's perfectly all right to give them a bath once an evening. Again, using something that's hydrating on the skin, not something that's going to dry the skin out. But also, you don't have to give them a bath every evening. You can wash those areas, you can wash their skin, give them a sort of, a changing mat bath, if you like. But I know a lot of parents really enjoy that time that they spend giving baby a bath. But as I say, don't let skin dry out. Keep that bath temperature much cooler than you think. You want it to be around 37 degrees, because what you don't want to do is the body to start sweating, which again is generating more opportunities for irritation. When baby comes out of the bath, dry baby thoroughly, and then apply a moisturizer or a really good moisturizing oil, and make that fun, make that part of your routine. And even if you bathe or not, that moisturizing is so vital in keeping those skin cells banded together. Think of those like bricks, and moisturization is the mortar, and moisturizer is the mortar that seals those two bricks of skin cells together. And then what you're doing is you're allowing baby or child the best opportunity to keep their skin super hydrated and therefore reduce the risk of irritation. And I would say moisturizing skin has to be approached in the same way that we approach swimming. That we're giving these children tools that are going to help them in the future, because your skin is the biggest organ on your body. And if you look after it, yay, happy days. But if you don't, you get problems. So start them young. Give them a pot of moisturizer by the side of the bed. Teach them about moisturizing in the morning. Teach them about moisturizing before they go to sleep. Make it part of your routine. And you'll end up with teenagers like mine that moisturize the whole time. And that will lead for a happy life and happy skin.
It takes me back when you were saying about cotton wool and water, and I can still hear the voice of my health visitor with one of my children saying, I think this baby needs some soap. Because it was just that following this cotton wool and water to the letter, and not actually knowing when to stop that and go, actually, we need to get this baby's skin really clean.
You've got to be, when you're buying these products, two things I would suggest. One is realize if they don't work for your child's skin, you can take them back and get your money back.
Wow, I didn't know that.
People don't seem to realise if it doesn't work for your child's skin, or if it irritates their skin, you can take it back. But to prevent, you charging in and washing them head to toe in something new, patch test. So before you apply anything to baby's skin, take a tiny little dab of it, pop it either behind their ear or on their forearm, on the, sort of perfectly smooth skin that we sort of don't have anymore. And leave it for 24 hours. And if there's no reaction, then that's fine. But just don't pile in. Baby skin is sensitive. They're brand new out of the cellophane. You've got to respect that fact that their skin is so young. And then, of course, skin changes over time. And as baby develops more into a toddler, their skin is maturing more. And as they become an early teen, their acid mantle develops. So, again, your skin has this other vital role, which is regulating temperature as well. So you want to keep that skin in the best nick possible. to give baby good temperature regulation, but also reduce that risk of infection.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now, you talked about your daughter, Bella,
Yes.
and she was the inspiration or the need to create this product. How on earth, Joanna, do you go about creating a product for your child? How do you go about doing it?
Well, I think you have to be bonkers in the first place, because I think had I known how my entire life, 12 years of my life, would have been sucked up into this, I might have thought again. But, you know, any mum out there, or dad, parent, grandparent, carer, who is looking after little ones, when there is something wrong and they can't really articulate to you what that wrong is, but you know it's causing them distress, I mean, you'd do anything. Mm-hmm. And I just so happened, and I took inspiration. Look, I'd had really sensitive skin as a child. So I knew what was good, what was bad, and what was indifferent on the market. And having had Bella, and I looked around and I saw what was on the shelves, and honestly, it was crap. You know, a lot of it was, you know, very old, established brands that hadn't changed anything for time immemorial. I mean, one of them was still using a dye in it that came from cow's hooves and, you know, and formaldehyde. This was in 2016. They were still using these ingredients. And I always thought that baby aisle was a walled garden of safety for new parents, but it wasn't at all. And I was horrified. And I had always had an interest in natural origin medicines. And, you know, we'd been brought up on homeopathy and, you know, sort of, you know, witchiness, really. And I knew there had to be a better way of doing it. Look, the Egyptians have been using shea butter 3,000 years ago as a cure for sunburn, windburn, and delicate skin. So there was stuff around which I knew worked and you could use for your children. But ... back to the fact I felt helpless. I felt that I was unable to stop my poor child crying because her skin was so painful. So that really pushed me. And I mean, I come from investment banking, so it was a sort of slightly left field approach. But I'm so pleased I did it, because I've managed to help so many, and the team has managed to help so many sufferers, not only babies and children, but 27% of our users are adults. You know, it is, you know, it's kind of, you have eczema, you have poorly skin, you just suffer. Learn to live with it. It doesn't have to be like that. Now, products are not going to work for everyone, which is why you have to try the patch testing. You don't leap in and do everything. But know that if it doesn't work, and during the times that we're living in right now, where every penny matters, if a product doesn't work, and that can be anything, that can be your face cream, that can be whatever it is, you can take it back and get a full refund from the retailer you bought it from. That's incredible. You know, sometimes I will find a face cream that I use and it's sort of separated. It looks like it's curdled. Take it back. And that means the preservative isn't doing its job. But I don't think, not a lot of people know this, that you can. And it saves you a bit of cash, doesn't it?
You're going to start a revolution. Everybody listening, everybody will be walking back tomorrow. That's it. But I'm interested in particular times of year, because I know from friends of ours with children, and in fact from my own children, that sometimes skin complaints can be worse at certain times of year. Why is that? What's going on?
It's all about the environment that you're in. So in the winter, we turn on the central heating. Very, very drying for skin. You're also wearing a lot more clothes, but yet when you are colder, it's really dehydrating. When the wind is blowing, it's really dehydrating. We don't necessarily take account of that either through drinking water, which, I'll let you into a secret, doesn't have that huge effect on your skin, because most of your skin is dead. Sorry. But you need it for yourself. We drink far too much water at the moment, and actually that can be a bad thing for you, but that's another topic entirely. But so in the winter, it's about that artificial warmth, and that's making sure you moisturize a lot. Think about those scaly legs that you get in the winter. And because we're always covered up, we're not thinking twice about them. That's dehydrated skin.
Right.
And that needs moisturizing. And, you can get some fantastic things. Actually, our baby oil comes in a spray, and it is genius. It soaks in straight away, and you can put your jeans on straight away. So steal something like that really works on your legs and is easy to apply. But in the summer, of course, again, this risk of dehydration, because you think, oh, well, it's sunny, I don't need to moisturize. Well, luckily, all sunscreen is a moisturizer. So if you're applying a sunscreen, and it's like when you go on holiday and you come back and you say, God, my skin feels amazing, my skin looks amazing, it's because you've been moisturizing the whole time.
Of course, yeah. Of course,
and so you just make sure, and you know what they say, if you want to prolong a tan, just keep on moisturizing. Just do it. Just do it the whole time. Become obsessive. Be like me. I've got 2 bottles of moisturizer on my desk, and that's a day serum. I'm all the time. I am moisturizing my hands. When I put too much on, I lift up my trousers and do the bottom of my legs. You simply can't moisturize enough, and your skin will love you for it. So those are the 2 things. And there is a reason why there's an after sun as well, because the companies that make sunscreen know that after you've been exposed to the sun, your skin is going to be dehydrated.
Sure.
Most of them are just very good moisturizers. So you don't necessarily have to do myself a disservice here, because we do make an after sun, but you can just use a moisturizer that you're used to. If you're taking it on holiday or you've got it anyhow, you don't need to go and make that special trip to go and buy something. But again, always check on the bottle. Look for the suitability for the age group that you're buying for, and for sensitive skin, for eczema prone skin. Those are all the things you're looking for when you're making a purchase. Hypoallergenic, who cares? All of these things, it depends what you care about. If you're worried about sensitive skin, eczema prone skin, check that it's got something saying about that. If you're looking for natural origin, well, look for something that tells you about that. If you're concerned about the environment, look for something that's talking to you about, the impact of the packaging. And if you care, if you're vegan or if you're vegetarian, look for those membership symbols. And if you care about animals and you want to be sure that none of your products are tested on animals, the only affiliate that really does a good job, because they test you every year on every single ingredient that you use, is Cruelty Free International. That's the Leaping Bunny. So all of those things, and what your products for your children should be doing for you is doing that heavy lifting for you. So you buy one product that ticks all of those boxes. It's great. It does the job that you're looking for, but it's sustainably packaged. It's easy to recycle, and it's got the right credentials, ethics and values. That means you're doing your bit, because your cup runneth over when you're a parent with everything else. Now, I've only had 2. You've got 6 kids. So, I mean, you can't be sitting there thinking, oh, well, I'll buy this, but actually I feel really guilty because it's not sustainable. No, only get stuff that ticks all the boxes. And they're out there. The same, I would say, applies to food. It applies to everything you're doing, clothes that you're buying. Right now, we have to be super conscious.
You do.
Is my view, because these little critters that we've bred and brought up are inheriting what we leave behind, as will their children after them.
When you said then about the stress, or the added, I'm putting words into your mouth now, but all the stuff that we have to think about as parents with children, there have been moments for me, and there might be for people listening, but there's been moments for me where the prep or the preventative approach to skincare has lapsed slightly. Okay, so I spot a child, one of mine, getting out of the bath, and I go, ooh, and you look in the back of their knees and it's all sore and it's ouchy, and I feel a terrible parent because that's obviously not arrived overnight. How have I missed that? What can you do if you've missed the prevention bit but you just want to treat the soreness? What do you need to be doing for children's skin?
Moisturise. Okay. Same principles apply. Moisturisation will make a manifold of difference. Listen, I've got my darling 17-year-old girl's got terrible anxiety, and she washes her hands 50, 60, 70 times a day.
Okay.
And when it's cold and when it's the heating's on, I mean, her hand's red, raw and bleeding. Okay. And she won't put a moisturiser on after that. And it's just, I just would leave bottles of moisturiser all over the place. And I would go and say goodnight to her. And I'd say, oh, let me just give you a foot massage. Oh, I've got lots left. Let me moisturise your hands. Mm-hmm. And actually, by doing that, it's got better and better. But we are not perfect. And if we set ourselves up for failure, we will just be living with disappointment. And life is about doing your best. Everything is as good as you can do it. Just missed a bit. Don't. I mean, I always say that we're built. When you give birth, you give birth to a child, and then a dollop of guilt.
Absolutely.
Actually, just park it. Just park it, because you're conscious that something's gone wrong. You can't do it straight away. I mean, I know. Look. I used to run a skincare brand. I created a skincare brand for a daughter who I had not, seen her legs one winter, and she came back from hockey practice, and she sort of was sitting there, and she took off her shins and her socks, and her shins were red raw with eczema. And I just sort of went, oh my goodness, what's happened? And she said, oh, and she said what she was doing is she was playing hockey and then not taking her disgusting shin pads and socks off for 2-3 hours afterwards.
Okay.
And again, when they've been playing sport, even if they're little, they are sweating. Mm-hmm. And they are getting dirt. Think about playing football and the local rec. It's all mud. They need to have a shower. Don't wait till bath time. Get them home, get them in the shower, get them washing their hair, getting them washing their skin. Again, cleanliness equals lack of dirt, equals lack of irritation. So even, physician heal thyself. I mean, how great a parent did I feel when my daughter's eczema was absolutely rabid. Mm-hmm. It was gone in 5 days. We just bath, moisturise, clean, bath, shower, moisturise, gone in 5 days.
That's incredible. And I was going to ask you about, and as I've Mini First Aid, followed avidly the journey of Child's Farm, but also we love, right? The best bit that we love is the before and after photographs.
Oh, appear, I love them too.
They are incredible, because if you ever need that conviction that, wow, we're doing a good thing, tell me about some of the examples that you've had, some of the results that people have seen from using a product effectively that you created.
Well, I have to say, any business, any brand is only there but for the consumers. And to have consumers who have had such an outstanding experience of your brand and they want to tell others about it is just golden. And the real one that kicked off everything was 2016. Mm-hmm. Paige Sweeney, who then Evie Ray was 4, up in Nottingham. She was good friends with the receptionist at Boots head office. And Evie Ray had eczema for forever and so much pain. And the receptionist at Boots said, oh, I tell you what you need to try. I've heard these amazing stories about this brand called Child's Farm, which we've just put on shelf. You've got to try that. Well, then such a success that Paige posted a photograph of Evie Ray's hands before she started using Child's Farm, and then 2 weeks later. And the difference was just chalk and cheese. And all the irritation, the red, the bleeding had gone. And she just posted it on her Facebook feed. And the first we knew was that our online web store was going nuts. I mean, amazing. Absolutely nuts. And within, I mean, that post, and it was before Facebook went weird. And, you can't actually share anything on Facebook now without paying for it. Yeah. And it was shared 35,000 times. Oh, wow. And that was it was overwhelming on every level. Overwhelming for Paige, because she was messaged by total strangers. I was going, help, I don't know what to do. And then she did a couple of interviews with the press, and it was shared again. In total, it was shared something like 60,000 times between February and the summer of 2016. And of course, a small business like ours was going, oh my God, what are we going to do? We couldn't find the stock. When you're paying and you're supplying to a retailer, you're usually paid 30, 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means you never have any money. You just spend your life without any money. And we couldn't wait, because if they wanted the stock, so it was madness. And we just got back to a state of normality in 2017. And then lovely Laura Gray pasted a photograph of our baby moisturiser saying, my mum bought me this and it cured my psoriasis in 24 hours. Oh, it was shared 70,000 times. I mean, it was insane. And then it was just management. And then it just kept on happening. And people were sharing these things. And I mean, I have to say, I would sit there and I would look at some of these pictures and cry. Mm-hmm. And cry. And then be so proud of what the whole team had done to create these products that helped these children, these adults, all sorts of people. And it was just, I mean, that's what you want. When you're going to set up a business, you don't want to be sort of, sitting there and thinking, oh, God, I'm not so sure I should buy that because it's not particularly healthy, or that's not particularly sustainable. We had sustainability, and we had natural origin, and we had, this stuff has to do something positive ingrained in what we did. And I just kind of felt, I can feel proud about doing something. So when I do pop my clogs, on my gravestone, my epitaph can read, she actually did something.
Amazing.
Rather than, not. And I have to say, every time I see one, I mean, some of them are just brutal. And some of them, they can't be shared because they're too brutal for Facebook.
The image of the original skin, is that?
The image of the original skin. You can put a beheading on, that's fine. But it's just, poorly skin on a child. And it's all out there. It's all going on the whole time. And it just, it makes me so proud. And it just sort of meant, and we used to get people that phone up. We still get postcards, letters, pictures. I've had people leaving singing messages on the voicemail. And, back in the day, I phoned absolutely everyone. I still, if we get sent a letter, I'll always write to everyone. Mm-hmm. But I'm less involved now in the business. And my life has had to be prioritised after 12 years of giving everything to Childs Farm. I've now got 2 teenage children, and as we were chatting about earlier, a mother with Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's, everything's sort of gone a different direction.
Joanna, you deserve to be incredibly proud of what you've achieved. And I know when we run our classes is that we have a Q&A session at the end, and skin is always in the Q&A. It always comes up. So our trainers always get asked extra questions about skin health. And in fact, it's one of the reasons that very recently we've just been doing a project with Childs Farm, giving away samples at our classes, because it was so apt to be able to say, look, yes, you've got to patch test. Yes, you might need to take advice. Yes, you need to sometimes chat to your GP about particular, but we've seen this product and we've seen so many parents talk about it. So I'm absolutely honoured that you came to chat to us today.
Oh, but and Kate, I'm so thrilled to be part of this, because we met 6 years ago when you'd sort of first started and you were doing this all on your kitchen table, and look at you now. I mean, this again, it's doing something for parents. It's doing the heavy lifting for them, and it's giving them ownership and understanding that you know what? I'm doing a good thing here. I know what to do in an emergency. And, right back at you, love.
Oh, good on you. Thank you very much. Now, we've had the most incredible conversation today, and I'm sure we could carry on chatting all afternoon, but both of us always have pressing stuff that we need to get off and do. But I do need to ask you, just, I guess, going back to skin and what you've talked about with us today, and you've shared all the insights about what products people should be looking for, your experience of Childs Farm, but then also, and the development of those products, what would you like people to take away? What would you like people to remember when they're thinking about their baby and children's and their own skincare? What would you want their top takeaways to be?
Moisturise, moisturise, moisturise.
I love that. Here we are. I'm off. I'm going to moisturise. I will add that one of the things that we've done, as well as we have a bath every night because it's part of routine, is that we get the kids to moisturise. And they love the pump bottles, and they can do it themselves, and they love it. It smells great, and so yes, it's very much moisturise. We should be off to do just that. Joanna Jensen from Childs Farm, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you've all enjoyed our podcast and listened to Joanna and I chatting today. Please do subscribe to our social channels because it keeps you up to date with all of our latest episodes. If you want to watch the full video of Joanna and I chatting today, it's available on our YouTube channel. And please do subscribe to the podcast on your usual favourite podcast broadcast platforms. We're on them all. I should add, if there are any topics that you'd like us to chat about, if there are things, I think we need Joanna to come back and talk about water, but if there are things that you want to hear about, because it's a family healthcare issue that you'd like to know more about, please do get in touch and we will sort the expert to come and chat to us on that subject. So thank you so much for joining us today. You've been listening to Kate and Joanna talking on family health by Mini First Aid. Thank you for listening to Family Health by Mini First Aid. I hope you found our podcast really useful and informative. If you want to know more about Mini First Aid classes, courses, qualification courses or first aid supplies, please do visit minifirstaid.co.uk or look us up on all your favourite social platforms at Mini First Aid. I take Savlon Scar Prevention Gel everywhere with me so that I'm always prepared for the many little and sometimes bigger accidents that my kids encounter. Thank you again to Savlon Prevention Gel for sponsoring Series 1 of the Family Health by Mini First Aid podcast.